So, Michael, you say that Bitcoin is far superior to other digital coins out there and that the public just needs to realize, and once it does, retail investors will pile into it, institutional investors will pile into it. Where do you see this inflection point happening? What's going to be the catalyst for everybody to make this revelation?
You know, first of all, everybody needs a certain thing in a very uncertain world. And if you look at what Bitcoin is, it's a network of $20 billion worth of mining hardware, burning billions of dollars of energy a year, very decentralized, distributed all around the world. It took us 13 years to get here. There's only one Bitcoin. And if you go to Davos, everybody's talking about the need for a new global money. How am I going to store my value? And they're debating, is it gold? Is it silver? What is it? And obviously, Bitcoin's the answer. So we have a solution to the world's problem. I think it's just a matter of taking a seat and letting things play out.
So you're obviously one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin. I want to read to you a part of a UBS note that was out earlier today. Some comments that I'd really like to get your take on. So the note says, in part, we'd envisage any turnaround as a slow grind as current activity levels are extremely depressed. Social media interest in the space continues to slacken, and weakness in on-chain activity is reflected in a low level of transaction fees being generated by all networks of late. Very bearish take by UBS here on any turnaround in cryptocurrency in general. What's your take on that?
None of it's going to matter if you pick up the paper one morning and you read that some country just bought $10 billion worth of it, right? All of these things are looking in the rear view mirror, but if you look forward, there's $300 trillion worth of currency derivatives, bonds, equities that are linked to currencies, other sorts of currencies. They've all got the same problem, which is the currencies are all weakening, either at a rapid rate or at an insane rate. And so Bitcoin's the solution to that problem. And we've simply got to wait until the world discovers it. So education, I think, is going to drive adoption.
Well, you're clearly a first mover when it comes to Bitcoin. I would think in cryptocurrencies in general. When is the rest of the world going to catch up? Do you have a timeline? I know you believe that Bitcoin's going to reach the millions at some point, but certainly with any kind of projection like that, we need some type of a timeline.
Well, you know, a lot of times people focus on the weeks, but if you actually look at the last 2 years, you could say the world is catching up. 2 years ago, we hit a COVID crisis, and since then, the U.S. money supply expanded by 36%. Bitcoin's up 229%. Gold, the NASDAQ, and the S&P have all underperformed the expansion of the U.S. money supply. So over a 2-year, a 4-year, a 6-year, and 8-year time frame, Bitcoin's outperforming everything. I think if you look out another 2 to 4 years, it's going to continue to perform. And there'll be some volatility in the near term, but I think that's the price you pay for the performance.
I think that Terra Luna collapse is going to be good for the industry. It's going to accelerate good regulation. Not all regulation is bad regulation. If you go to CoinMarketCap, there's 19,500 cryptos out there, and there's massive confusion. And a shakeout in the industry would be advantageous because the average mere mortal doesn't have time to study 19,500 cryptocurrencies. And there is a bona fide large demand for stablecoin that's safe and transparent. And it's been difficult for legitimate institutions like Caitlin's Bank to issue those stable coins because there's been a regulatory deadlock in DC. Like, people know they need to do something, but there was no urgency to do it. And I think now this is front and center at Treasury and in the administration and in Congress. And I expect that whatever kind of clarity was going to come is going to come faster because now there's a reason to accelerate the pace. And I mean, some people think like Bitcoin benefits from anarchy or lack of regulation. That's not true. In fact, I think Ken Griffin said this last week, the CEO of Citadel. He said the entire industry deserves clarity. We need to understand what's a security. We need to understand what's a currency. We need to understand what's a commodity. And if the SEC does this or gets together with the CFTC and issues some guidance, tier one firms like his, Citadel, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, they can all start to get involved, and then what we'd like to see is everybody want to play in the industry. Big investors bring money into the industry. And when I talk to the CEOs of publicly traded FDIC insured banks, they go, oh, we can't issue stablecoin. Our regulator won't let us. So at the point that there's more clarity, I think the banks will get involved, the investors will get involved, lots of people will get involved, and of course the bad actors and malicious scammers will get squeezed out of the industry, because not all these things are alike. They are very different. And the general retail population, they don't have a choice between taking a stable coin from a bank or a stable coin from an organization that, ETFs disclose their holdings every day, right? And how about every week, every month, every year? Right now, 70% of the stable coin in the market, there's no disclosure, even in a year, of precisely what's backing it. So the market wants $1 trillion worth of this stuff. Everybody wants it. I can't get it. And the banks that could provide it aren't allowed to offer it. And so we're kind of in this kind of deadlock. And if it took the Terra Luna blow up in order to unstick that, I mean, it's bad for them, but it will ultimately result in an industry that's more mature and more functional. I mean, the first order challenge is that the current accounting is toxic and prejudicial, right? It's indefinite intangible accounting, which means if you buy it, you can only mark it down. You can never mark it up forever. And the toxicity then, it obscures your balance sheet, but it also filters into your P&L. So that's kept most conservative CFOs from wanting to pursue it. FASB's got a project to review the accounting for digital assets. So I think if FASB actually implements anything looking more like fair value accounting, that would be a big auspicious thing. I think after that, the second order issues are, if the SEC approves a spot ETF, if Treasury or someone gives FDIC banks or any kind of chartered bank, a state chartered bank like Caitlin's Bank, the ability to issue a stable coin, that'll accelerate the industry. I think if the SEC regulates the crypto exchanges as national securities exchanges, that will actually accelerate corporate adoption. I think if they mandate full and fair disclosure for all the unregistered securities that are trading in the crypto industry, like the Lunas and the Terras just melted down, that'll shake out all of the garbage. That will accelerate a flight to quality, right? Bitcoin is backed by $20 billion worth of semiconductors and hardware and energy. And then, yo-yo coin number 97 was ginned up in the basement of some dude in some place that is located behind a Tor node, and you just don't even know who that is. And so if you're a mainstream investor, the Charlie Mungers and the Warren Buffetts of the world, they're not going to dig into this. They're just going to read something and they come to a very quick conclusion. And like it or not, people with less knowledge than you have more money than you. And the market is dominated by them. So you want to see more corporate adoption, right? You need the FDIC, the Fed, Treasury, the SEC, CFTC. They all need to move forward. FASB has a big role to play. And the good news here is everything I just named is highly predictable. It will happen. It's just a question of, does it happen in 6 months, 36 months, right? 60 months, right? And you have to decide.